Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue our journey with Erika and Stephanie on 90 Day Fiancé. Let's get to the show. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a couples therapist, and I'm also a professor in couples therapy. Let's see if anything of interest comes out of my face.
I just went downstairs to call my friend Paige for a little bit.
What did you guys talk about?
Just what happened last night.
Oh, interesting. You don't think that's going to be a little bit weird? Your friend knows that we got into a fight on our second night together.
I just talked to my friends about what happened, you know.
Well, I would prefer it if you didn't tell your friends about our problems.
Hey, so there's nothing wrong with Stephanie being insecure. Stephanie is about to hang out with Erika and her friends, and now Stephanie's like, oh no, you told all your friends about our fight last night? That's going to be really awkward for me because I'm already insecure about meeting your friends, and now they probably all hate me, and that's going to be a bad scene for me. Totally normal to have that anxiety, to have that worry if you're Stephanie. It's a different thing to take that feeling and then take the leap to control and demands. Telling Erika, basically, don't talk to your friends about our troubles. That is unreasonable for most people. If you are going through something difficult and you're Erika, you're going to want to talk with your friends about it. That's your support system. What are you supposed to do? Not talk with anyone? This is another tick on the side of controlling jealousy. There are different, all of us experience jealousy occasionally, some more than others. So it's a normal emotion to have. But what do we do with that emotion? Well, there are healthy ways, there are neutral ways, and then there are unhealthy ways. And one of the unhealthy ways is to control other people. Stephanie has exhibited a number of different behaviors so far in such a short amount of time that indicate a repetitive control response to the jealousy feeling or control response to negativity. Just like anything that is difficult that's going on with Erika, Stephanie resorts to control instead of asking for help, expressing your emotions. There's a lot of other options aside from just telling your girlfriend, don't talk with your friends about our problems. And there's even ways to ask that. You can, in a more healthy way, like, so Erika, it's great that you talk with your friends. Of course, you should be able to confide in your friends about your things. But I hope you didn't make me look like a total jerk because we're about to meet up with them, and that's going to be pretty awkward for me. So, there's a way to ask that, but you don't have to just say, don't talk with your friends about me. We can imagine that going down a certain road where, other relationships where the person in Erika's position is not allowed to talk to her friends, is not allowed to leave the house, is not allowed to say certain things, is not allowed to use social media, is not allowed to, talk to her family. You just further isolate that person because for the Stephanies of the world, and I don't know this about Stephanie, but I have treated people like Stephanie, a common scenario is because of their repetitive response of control and demanding when they have trouble, they will basically, slowly draw the noose around the neck of the person. Now, sometimes that can be psychopathic, meaning that they're out to hurt their partner, but usually it's not. Usually it is a deep-seated fear of attachment loss, and they have seemingly only one way to cope with that, and that's through control. So we've seen some concerning things so far.
Steph took me on this date telling me that she was going to make me feel like a princess, but instead made me feel very trapped and backed into a corner. And now she's telling me not to talk to my friends about my feelings and what's happening in my life.
Now, I will say that this has really nothing to do with what I was saying earlier, independent of everything I was saying earlier. If you're in Erika's position, when you are talking to your friends about a fight that you had with your spouse or your partner, you want to be careful about the amount of negativity that you dump on your friends if you want your friends and your partners to get along. There's nothing wrong with going to them and saying, I'm going through a lot and this thing happened, it really pissed me off and da-da-da-da-da-da. But you want to counter that and say, so thanks for listening, But I also want to tell you that she's really great. She has a lot of great qualities. And I'm really only telling you all the negative things. And I really don't want you to hate her because I want you to get along with her. Also, if you're a friend that's listening to the Erikas of the world and you plan on having a relationship with Stephanie, because that's who Erika is involved with, then you also want to keep that in mind. I'm getting all the negativity, if that's what's happening, and I'm not getting any of the positivity. Sometimes, actually, this show does this to us. It shows only the negativity and doesn't show us enough of the positivity, which can be the reason why they stay in the relationship. Sometimes when you watch the show, you might wonder, why are you staying in this relationship? It seems so absurd. You fight all the time. Well, the show is interested in making the most salacious material for us, and so they're not necessarily going to show moments where things are going well.
Really starting to make me question the type of person that she really is. She's gonna have to learn to trust me. Otherwise, this relationship is not gonna work.
So this is a common issue that I see people have, and it's sort of true, but I also think it's not always true. And that for Erika, she's saying, I'm now discovering the type of person that Stephanie is. In the previous episode, Stephanie said, I'm now seeing Erika's true colors. When we get into conflicts, it can seem like, oh, I'm now realizing who this person really is, their true colors, the type of person that they are. And that's actually not accurate usually. Stephanie is not a controlling type. What she is she has a repetitive defense of control. Now, you could say that's a type, it's part of her personality, but in my view, it's more healthy and more flexible to see it as a coping style that they feel like is the only way that they can cope. Think of it like you are you cook food in your kitchen and you have a certain way that you like to cook your food, like let's say spaghetti or pasta, and you have a certain way that you like to do it. And then someone else comes along and says, I do it this other way. But you just really like doing it that one way. It's just like, well, this is the step. I like to put salt in. I like, and to do it a different way, it can get hard. But you could learn a different way, especially if someone came along and told you, look, and made it inviting. They said, there's this other way. It's actually easier and better. Let me show you, and it'll actually save you a lot of time and money, and it gets a better product. If someone makes it inviting enough, then you might actually shift your way of making pasta. That's what a therapist does oftentimes. We come in and we say, the way you're doing things is fine, and it does work in some ways, but there's a better way. Let me show you a better way to deal with your jealousy feelings or your feelings of worry about loss of your partners. You're coping with it with this particular pattern that you've been taught or you just landed on early in your life. There's another way, and it's so much better for you. You will actually benefit. But as a therapist, you have to sell it to that person. But it's not a personality trait. The way you cook your pasta is not a personality trait. It's just a habit. It's a style of coping. And so for Stephanie, she has a style of coping of control. But she could easily change that if someone came along and convinced her, in therapy or otherwise, of a different way, because Stephanie, she's trying to solve a problem. She's trying to make the best pasta. She's trying to have the best relationship. She's trying to have the most attachment security. And if someone comes along and convinces her of a better way, then people usually take it. A lot of you have actually emailed me and said, through these videos, you've learned new ways to get your attachment needs met. I've given you a different recipe, and you said, oh, that sounds good. I'll try that. And then it works better, and you're like, hey. So in the past, people might have looked at you and said, you are blank. You are the sort of person that deals with things in an unhealthy way. But that isn't necessarily true, right? You just didn't know, and most people don't know because we don't teach this. We don't teach it in schools. We don't teach it in society. It's not on YouTube except for very small pockets. So it's no wonder that people don't know about it.
Oh, look, horses. I guess we're beginning to see the wildlife now. That's pretty cool.
So is there anything from last night that you think we should talk about?
So it's a good opener from Erika. Now, I would say an even better opener is to start off with your own apology or taking responsibility. Now, Erika doesn't have a lot to take take responsibility for, from my opinion, but she does have some things. She did walk off. She did she did get upset, and maybe, I can't remember exactly what she said, but call it 1% of the responsibility is on Erika. Let's not get into the details, and I do that a lot with my couples. It's like, let's not get in a tit for tat. Let's just each person take responsibility, because that's usually what works. Let's not argue about how much the problem was percentage-wise each person has. Each person participated in the issue, so let's both take responsibility. So for Erika, she could have led with, so I just want to say about last night that I'm sorry that I walked off. And I thought more about the dating app on my phone, and I totally get it that you would be upset by that. So if you lead by example, it gives the other person to lead by example as well. But, Erika did open up the conversation in not an unhealthy way. John Gottman and other people and myself will talk about conflicts are inevitable in romantic relationships. A lot of people think, oh, we fight all the time. All couples fight frequently. And research has shown that the vast majority of fights, I can't remember the exact figure that John Gottman found, but that something like 60% of conflicts that couples get involved in are never resolved. So not only do we have this myth that good couples don't fight, but we also have this myth that if they do fight, then they resolve their fights. But most fights don't get resolved. Well, what do you mean? What do we mean by resolved? Well, what we mean is that both people feel like this is never going to happen again, and both people totally understand each other, and it generally doesn't happen again. Most fights that couples have, they happen over and over and over again, and that's okay. It just is the way that it is. No parent is perfect. No couple is perfect. No child is perfect. No therapist is perfect. No client is perfect. No YouTubers. No one's perfect. The perfection is just not a thing. But we often hold ourselves to that standard. Anyway, so conflict is a part of life. But how do we open up conflict? It's a big thing. What's the first move you make? Because a lot of you out there might be in those positions often where you're thinking, oh, there's tension. We had a fight last night. How do I open the conflict? It's very important in the way that you open, because the way that you open often does steer the direction of the fight, or the discussion. Let's see what happens here.
Yeah, there's still stuff I'm upset about from last night. I just don't think the best place to discuss it is in a moving vehicle on an almost 4-hour drive. Okay.
So, yikes. Stephanie is essentially criticizing Erika in this moment. The other thing I'll say is, what better time is there to talk about it? What is Stephanie saying? Like, a better place would be to talk over dinner? So, I mean, talking in a car is actually a pretty good place. You don't have anything else to do. There's no distractions really. So there's that. And also you hear that Stephanie didn't bring up an alternative. Now, it'd be fine if Stephanie didn't want to talk about it in this moment for whatever reason. Maybe she's uncomfortable because of the long drive. And she could have said something like, Erika, I'm glad you brought that up. It means a lot to me that you care enough about our relationship to want to work on it. I don't want to talk about it right now because I'm really uncomfortable. Let's wait till we get home and we'll definitely talk about it then. This is very important. I can't emphasize this more. So many people will not do that kind of thing. It's the avoidant people, or I think Stephanie, I don't think Stephanie's avoidant. I think she's ashamed is probably my guess. And she doesn't think that the conversation is going to go well because she probably is ambivalent about her position last night. She probably is still, holding on to her position, but I'm guessing because of sleeping on it the next day, she might think, oh, I'm a little ashamed of how forceful I got with Erika. So I'm guessing that's why she doesn't want to talk about it. But that's pretty rough that Stephanie just slapped her across the face verbally, essentially. And it took a lot of courage and really care and compassion for Erika to bring it up and say, hey, let's talk about it. Let's better our relationship. And Stephanie just shoots that down.
I guess we're beginning to see the wildlife now. That's pretty cool.
So is there anything from last night that you think we should talk about?
Yeah, there's still stuff I'm upset about from last night. I just don't think the best place to discuss it is in a moving vehicle on an almost 4-hour drive.
Okay.
I mean, are you bothered by it?
Well, yeah, I guess it kind of seems like there's some control issues.
So, yes, Erika, that's accurate, but I don't know how well that's going to go over. There's another way of putting that Stephanie is probably going to be more likely to accept. Like, so how would I say it if I was in Erika's position? I would say something like, so, well, this is what I would do, honestly. I would say, so, Stephanie, I just want to get to know you better. And I totally understand about the dating app thing. Totally get it. But I'm just curious for you, when you saw that dating app on my phone, how did you feel in that moment? You know, what kind of emotions did you have? You know, that's pretty much a therapist. That's what I would say as a therapist. And I tend not to do that to my wife, so I don't know if I would do that in reality. But maybe another way of putting it would be, so, yeah, so here's probably this is actually my style, is I would say to, instead of saying, you know, you were controlling, which is essentially what Erika's saying, I would say, I just want to tell you my experience. We met on the internet 4 months ago, and I was dating people around that time. And as we got a little bit more serious, I said, hey, I want to really give Stephanie a shot here. So I deleted all my dating apps, but I kept this one because I get business from it. And actually, I have some friends that we communicate over. But no dating. I just want to tell you, no dating. Why would I do that? It's you and me. And that's why I didn't mind you seeing it, because I didn't have anything to hide. And so when you said that you wanted me to delete it, it kind of hurt my feelings because you didn't give me a chance to explain the full thing. You just sort of assumed that I would cheat on you or something. And I don't know, it just kind of hurt my feelings. I wish you would have just asked for an explanation rather than just jumping to me deleting the app. And so when you did that to me, it really hurt my feelings. It made me feel like you don't think I'm a trustworthy person. You know, so maybe I would do that. I would just try to, that's my style. I don't know how much my wife appreciates that style, honestly. but I find that what it does is it gives the other person a chance, because usually conflict, it's just about people just not really understanding each other. They see a little behavior and they extrapolate on that. And usually if you kind of fill in the gaps for people, it can really help. Like, oh, so I didn't realize that was your process. Because you noticed in my role, play of what Erika would say, I'm saying, I'm trying to address Stephanie's jealousy and saying, I wasn't dating anyone. Here's the reason why I had that app there. I didn't mind you seeing it because I didn't have anything to hide. And I'd be purposely saying those things maybe to help her with that. Then once we kind of maybe saw eye to eye, maybe there's some apologies, maybe some, kissing and making up. I might say something like, so I just want to throw this out there. Some of your behavior sometimes seems to be, it feels controlling to me. And I'm not accusing you of anything, but I just want to throw it out there. That sometimes it kind of feels like you get a little controlling. And maybe I wouldn't say controlling, because that can be a kind of a trigger word for some people. I might say something like forceful, or jumping to, I don't know but I try to tone down that word in the same way that I found through experience that the word liar really triggers people. Even though when people do lie, it's rational to call them a liar or someone who lied. You lied just then. There's something about naming it a lie that really caused people to say, I wasn't lying. I was, even though they totally were lying. So usually I will say untruths or spin. I'll often use that. It sounds like you're kind of spinning things there because that's less triggering to people. Anyway, so Erika just dropped a bomb. And Stephanie doesn't look pleased. So let's see what happens here.
Okay.
I mean, are you bothered by it?
Well, yeah, I guess it kind of seems like there's some control issues. And that really scares me because I am like a free-spirited person. I just don't like being made to feel bad. Everything that went down last night was really unnecessary, and it should have been over after I explained to you that it was like for networking.
I get that, but like it was a little off-putting to me that it was a dating app.
Okay. So at first I was like, okay, Stephanie, she says, I get that. I was like, oh, that's almost 2 thumbs up for Stephanie. And then she follows it up with, but I was a little hung up on the fact that it was a dating app. And then that's all she says. It's like, okay, expand a little bit.
I've been over after I explained to you that it was like for networking.
I get that, but like it was a little off-putting to me that it was a dating app.
Even just now, like when you were just saying about like, I don't want you to talk to your friends about it.
No, I didn't say that. I just gave you my concerns because then they're going to start hating me. I did not say, don't do this.
Okay.
So she did. We literally have a recording of that. And that's not uncommon for people to have a different memory or to have a motivated reason to unbelieve or unremember something. So it's not encouraging to hear Stephanie's response to this. Erika could be, more helpful in this situation, but she's being pretty great about it, I would say. If I was her therapist and we were talking about how to approach Stephanie, I would talk with her about not using trigger words like control and this sort of thing, and maybe try to help Stephanie understand and maybe belay some of Stephanie's fears so that you can get her to warm up and maybe help. Because the reason why Stephanie, 1, does the control is because she's afraid of losing Erika. And 2, the reason why people will often become stubborn in a situation like this, as I would say Stephanie is being, is because, again, they're worried about losing. It's a very irrational defense. When we're being accused of something, our spouse is saying something to us that is like, you did this the other day. We have this compulsion to counter them. Well, why do we do that? I mean, we're not on a reality TV show. No one's watching. So it doesn't matter if we lose. Why do we care so much about losing in that situation? Losing. Why do we care so much about saying, you know what, you're right, I did that? Why is it so hard for us to admit, even in our hearts? Why is it so hard for us to just be like, you know what, from my spouse's perception, maybe I did do that. Why is it so hard for us to do that? Well, it's because we have this belief, this defense of, if I admit that I did something wrong, then that means that they have a reason to leave me. And if I'm a wrong person and I did a wrong thing, which everyone does occasionally, but if I did a wrong thing, like they said I did something wrong, then they have a reason to leave me. And so I'm going to deny that because I don't want to lose them. Because you'll see people do this when they are desperate, especially when they have a whole history of abandonment, when they're desperate not to lose their partner, they will dig their heels in and say, no, you're wrong. I did not do that. I didn't. And the more you are healthy and able to trust other people, trust that people aren't going to leave you, then you actually are better able to admit when you're wrong. So we see as you become more anxious about losing people, you also become more stubborn about giving in, which causes people more likely to leave you because you're so stubborn. So it's this irrational defense that shoots ourselves in the foot. So for Stephanie, she's probably being that way because as she's being accused of something, because she has relational traumas, of which I can only speculate if they even exist, she is digging her heels in because she's trying to, it's the way that I describe it is, you're trying to change someone's mind, trying to brainwash your partner into believing that you're perfect. So Stephanie in this moment was like, I didn't do that. I'm not controlling. I didn't say that. I don't know what you're talking about. And it's this fantasy that if I deny it and I'm very convincing, then Erika will say, you know what? I must misremember that situation. I must be stupid. I must have a bad perceptual ability. You know what? Stephanie's right. I'm wrong. And I love Stephanie so much, and Stephanie really convinced me that she's the perfect partner. But of course, that's ridiculous, because the more stubborn you get and the more you put someone down and the more you deny what really happened, the more the other person is going to run away from you.
But when you get upset over things that shouldn't really even be an issue in the first place, that is an issue with control.
Maybe the reason why I may come off as controlling sometimes is just because I've lacked stability in my life a lot. You know, like the past 2 years of my life, my health was up in the air, wasn't really sure what was happening. And so, like, all I want is, like, to just know what's gonna happen.
2 thumbs up, Stephanie. I don't know how this is gonna last, but she essentially just admitted, yes, I'm controlling. She's making an excuse. I don't know if she's saying I'm sorry or if she's justifying, but it kind of at least sounded like it's in the middle there, if not saying I'm sorry. So that's great. She just said, maybe the reason why I'm controlling is because of my health issues and I just lack control in my life. Maybe that's why I'm doing. That's great. That's a very good step. If the two of them have a way of talking about that, the control issue, they have a way of solving it. Ooh, you're getting a little controlling again. You know, what's happening? Now, I wish that they would go deeper, and it'd be great if Stephanie did this. It's like, well, actually, the reason why I control is because I'm terrified of losing you. And I'm terrified of just my life becoming chaotic, which it often is, or something along those lines. She's basically saying that. And so if in the future Erika will say, oh, you're being controlling, are you worried about something right now? Because people often focus on, stop being controlling, instead of saying, stop being controlling, why are you being controlling? That's what I want to see people do more of, because that usually is the solution.
And I'm sorry for making you delete your app. And I'll do my best to trust you. I will.
Okay.
That was great. It was a step in the right direction, but great and unexpected. Stephanie apologized. It wasn't a huge apology because it wasn't just the dating app, right? It was just the general vibe she had. But that's great. I'm encouraged by that. I wish there was more conversation between the two of them, more explanation of why I did that, and I'm not only am I sorry for the dating app, but I'm sorry for saying the things I said, and so on. But this is definitely encouraging.
Yeah, nice How are you? And then I elbowed you. Oh my God. Good. This is Steph. Hi. Nice to meet you, Steph. Claire, nice to meet you.
So I just want to comment on Erika's awesome outfit where she has watermelon earrings and then like fruit dress. She often has these themed outfits. It's pretty great.
Erika has told me that she has been intimate with some of her friends, specifically her friend Adam, who she does talk about quite often. They'll get drunk together and she'll spend the night at his place, and that just doesn't sit well with me.
So, as I've always said, there's nothing wrong with being jealous and having jealous feelings or worrying about losing your partner to someone else. It's a normal feeling that people all have to some degree, some more than others, and it's fine. And what do we do with that? So right there, you saw that inkling of the control response, that control solution to that feeling of that just doesn't sit well with me, which sounds to me like that's going to have to end. And I'm going to have to require Erika to change her life so that I can not have this feeling. But of course, when you do that to someone, you're more likely to lose that person, which is the solution you're actually trying to avoid, the result you're trying to avoid. All right, well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle. Please subscribe below, hit the bell, comment, like this video, become a patron, and subscribe to the podcast on your podcatcher on your phone, because we have over 1,000 episodes. And please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.